G'day there, it's Dave here, Dave Mills with part 3 and of the Scotch Gambit, the complete weapon and opening weapon against e4, e5. So we're going to look at the premature line. So d4, alright, e takes d, alright, and then bishop c4, and instead of the passive line, which we looked at in part 2, we're going to talk about the premature line.
Check.
And in the premature line, you get a cheeky check, you develop a piece. I mean, there's a certain logic to it, but once again, white is able to get that c3 in, and in some ways this line is as bad, if not worse, than the last line. So after d takes c, alright, b takes c, alright, and now in looking at this move here, b takes c, there's also castles, which is an interesting move. It's not a bad idea to get the king out of the way, but typically I like to threaten the bishop. And now the bishop plays back to e7. Are you getting the hint yet? And now we don't play here. We actually, and now, I mean, you've cleared the way. Boom. You've got a very familiar position. And once again, you know the drill. Now, this move here. Now, if d6. Alright, if black tries d6, then the queen is just really quite devastating here. And, can you see the mate?
Check.
Alright, very, very, very nasty. Alright, that is checkmate. So d6 is not that good. And the momentum of this coming crashing through is just too much. And we know the drill here: bishop takes, king takes, castles, and then here's the funny thing: you in this position here, I actually like. Now there is this capture here. But like from the part 2, but what's the difference? The difference is the knight can't get to c3. It's just a bit uglier. Okay, so you want to actually, now that you've got your piece up, you just want to put the bishop in the most active square. Now bishop to f4, very nice, very attractive, very appealing to me. But I actually really like this square here to e3, because it eyes both parts of the board. It can eventually come and look at the king, your piece up. But I've also trotted out bishop to f4, and that's also a very, very strong line. But I prefer this move here, much more centralizing. And so that's why, that's what happens if they play bishop to e7. So after b takes c, instead of bishop to e7, black could try bishop to d6. I call this the stupid move. And why it's called the stupid move is it sort of blocks in everything. And so another try is bishop c5, and this is the problem of what to do with this bishop. Is because it's actually loose here. So now, because it's a loose piece, it's actually a minor target. It's not so good. Now you remember earlier parts if you remember some of my trap ideas that I've shared. So this position here is just crushing. Alright, king takes f7. Alright, and queen d5.
Check.
Now, you also know in this position, after the king runs back, you could just take the bishop, or you could try and tempt them to ruin their structure. Okay, but either way, it's pretty nasty. Okay, so after b takes c3, there's also bishop to a5. And after that, we have just castles. Right, d6. And now, instead of playing this move here, you're not getting as much bang for your buck because that's not loose. Okay, a really great idea is here. It can't be harassed by knight to a5. The bishop's taking that square. The queen is pressuring the b pawn, and also obviously has a barrage and has its activity hitting all the way down. Pieces are ready to fly, come flying out there. And so basically, instead of d6, there's an alternative, but we'll get to that. And then queen e7. All right, and that's not really doing much, you know. In fact, I've got a note here. I should, you know, I should actually go over it. All right, I'll give you my notes. After queen e7. e5. Alright, and I put an exclamation mark here in my notes because it really is just, it's about momentum, right? And to get that momentum, you need those open lines. And opening up the center like this, because this is a cog, a minor cog, it's a misalignment. The queen is lined up with the king, and that's just very ugly. So d takes e, bishop to bishop to a3, and did you see that? That's a thematic idea of capture. That's why you capture with a b pawn. It's to so you get that beautiful attack. All right. Now, instead of d takes e, what happens if what actually happens if black captures with the knight? Well, if the knight actually captures here, then you know, so if knight e5, the idea is to capture here with your knight, and then obviously if the queen captures, right? If the queen captures, you've got the attack on f7. So you just sort of back into you're getting back, and obviously going back. If we can go back, after e5, if the queen can't capture. So if here, it's just nasty. So that's the thinking. That's the thinking after the bishop move. Okay. Now, I'm getting I apologize, getting ahead of myself. So instead of after e5, I've gone too far back. e5, d takes e. Alright, bishop to a3, and we can see now the attack. It's you know, the bishop has gone from having an activity of 2 to now having an activity, you know, it's a little piece attacking a bigger piece. So it's accelerating the position. You know, it's increasing the momentum of the piece. All right, queen f6. All right, trying to get to a better square. You know, white also was looking at queen b5 earlier. So knight on b to d2. Alright, now the opening phase is finished for white. His pieces are just incredibly dynamic. This b pawn is denying entry, you know, reducing activity. It's doing a yeoman's effort. Now that these two pieces are connected and the king is stuck in the center, it's really, really ugly. So knight e7, just a logical move, trying to stick as many pieces between the king and these heavies. After knight e7, knight e4. Okay, that just little guy. So what's happening is using forcing moves, threats, checks and captures. You know, we're accelerating the momentum. See, through that move now, and also the knight is in the center, which gives him a lot of activity, a lot of great attacking squares. Now after knight e4, queen g6, and yeah. So let's get rid of some defenders. What can the king do here? I certainly. I mean, if it has to be knight takes. I mean, if the king takes,
check.
That's looking really bad. All right, just really, really, really bad. Okay, so that's my answer. So obviously knight takes e7. All right, knight on e to g5. All right. Not only is that now combining on the cog at f7, the center of gravity there. Not only is that move doing that, but it's also clearing, opening lines for attacks down the e file. So king castles, knight takes f7, and it all comes crashing. Rook takes f7, and yeah. Do you see the move? I don't want to give you a hint with my cursor. Yeah, that's a misalignment. Just loose piece. Just absolutely devastating. Just absolutely crushing. And so what actually happens if instead of knight takes, alright, after knight on g to e7, okay, and knight e4, queen g6, bishop takes. So the question is, what actually happens if instead of knight takes or king takes, did you see it? Queen takes e4. So what's particularly wrong about that? Queen takes e4. Well, bishop gets away, you know, while cutting the king off from fleeing. The squares around the king are of high premium, and the activity of that bishop just, you know, the value of the bishop times the 4 squares that's attacking there. It's just, it shows the true momentum, and you know, it helps us understand the relative value of the piece. This bishop is very powerful compared to this bishop. We can just see the difference. Okay, and what's the ideas for white here? So the ideas for white are to get the rook here, rook to e1, rook on a to d1, the most golden 2 files for the heavies, and then obviously followed by capturing, you know, on f7. You know, followed by going after f7. So centralizing, completing your development. Black is disastrous position, and this bishop move here, it really does take away the the square for that knight, and just see how you reducing the mobility of your pieces, how that can, instead of giving development, giving impulse, actually can take it away. And also just look at that pawn, that B pawn, it's just glorious. So, you know, there we have it. We've covered most of my notes on this premature move, and hope you really enjoyed it. You know, watch it more than once, take notes, get your own, get your own notebook. And go through it on your boards, and go through, learn the moves and win your games and surprise your opponent. All right, next we're going to look at after d4, all right, e takes d, bishop c4, and we're going to actually look at the weak line. We're actually going to look at the weak line d6 coming up, and I actually find this move here, the weak line, to be not so good, and I'm sure you're going to agree. Alright, take care. Bye!